Every vehicle over 10,000 pounds governor weight must enter the weight station / port of entry. So what's the job of the weight station / port of entry is number one, to protect the road and bridge infrastructure. Number two is identifying defective vehicles and removing unqualified drivers.
Twisted.
Feel free to add me on your application as the driver who referred you. You will click yes and then type in COXDJO. So what the weight scale kind of looks for is your combined vehicle weight and the weight of all your tandems and stuff like that, because they want to protect their roads. Too much weight will start damaging the road, wear and tear, and you could be destroying bridges. You can't make turns in certain areas, so they really would like to make sure that that vehicle is not overweight or the tandems are not too far back, different stuff like that. They're also doing visual inspections. These scales have cameras on the way in, on the way out, and as you go through the scale. And they can check your DOT inspections, your annual inspections. They can make sure that the trucks have the proper DOT numbers, the proper names on the side of them. They can check the lights as you're pulling up to them. They can like do a visual inspection of the lights, like cleanliness inside your vehicle. Some of them actually have cameras facing down so they can see if you're wearing the seatbelt. Make sure that you have a seatbelt on. I will highly recommend having seatbelts on. And they can also see if you're using electronic devices as you're coming into these weight scales and stuff like that. You know, and then they can also measure how long the entire truck and trailer is, and measure how long from the kingpin to the rear axle to make sure that you're following their linked laws that they have. Like, you know, certain states like you in a certain hole of the tandems to keep you legal in that state, so you're not too, your wheels are not too far back, so you can make safe turns on their narrow streets and stuff like that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull up to, we're going to be driving down the highway, reading our signs. We're making sure that we're checking out for those, looking out for those weight scales coming up or those ports of entries. So first thing you're going to see is a couple signs, and they're probably going to tell you, hey, get into this lane, all trucks into this lane. Maybe you have a scale coming up. They're going to say weight scales approaching in so many miles. You know, weight and motions coming up. So on the highway, usually, so I've seen scales on the left side, I've seen them on the right side, but usually it's in the right side. They're going to have that sign, all trucks on the right side. You're going to go through the weight and motion. It looks like a concrete rectangle on the road, and it's pretty neat because you're doing the speed limit on the road and your truck goes over that scale and it reads it as fast as you hit that scale. And it reads the weights of your truck. Now, if there's any question, they're going to pull you into the scale because you won't get the bypass link, the little bypass on the neck sensor. So the neck sensor you come to that goes over the road, it's going to give you the bypass to either pass the scale, you don't have to come into it, or it's going to give you the light to come into it, whether you're using DriveWise or if you're using pre-pass or, you know, whatever your company uses for the scales. If you get the call in, then you go in. Some scales have the lights on the side of the road, the light up signs that are going to say enter scale, or bypass the scale. Bypass means you don't even have to go into it. Enter the scale means you have to go into it. So if you get the light to come into the scale, you're going to need to slow down the truck to the, you know, you're coming in the decelerate lane. You need to slow it down to the speed limit. You got to follow the signs inside the scales, because sometimes it'll say empty trailers to the left, loaded trailers to the right, and you split up and then you follow the signs for each lane. So make sure you're looking for those posted speed limit signs. So once you see the speed limit sign, do that speed limit. Then you're going to come up to the scale. You're going to, usually there's a stop sign right before the scale because they don't like you just pulling onto it and hitting the brakes. You got a lot of momentum going. They like you to come to a complete stop. That slows down everybody if they put a stop sign there. It slows you down, complete stop, and then you start rolling onto the scale. You don't want to slam on your brakes on the scale. You don't want to slide your tandems on the scale. You don't even really want to set your brakes unless they instruct you to. So, all that can damage the scale. You want to be as light as you can on there. You pull up on the scale. Some scales are the entire vehicle all at once. You pull the entire truck onto it and the trailer. You stop, and then they'll give you the green light to go back to the highway, or the red light to come around and inside and talk to them. If it's a single axle scale, you're going to pull your steers onto it. You're going to stop. They're going to give you a green light, flash a green light to pull up to the next one. They might have the intercoms. I always roll down my window whenever I go into a scale, so in case they have the intercoms, I can hear them. I'll move the drives onto it. I'll stop again. They'll tell me to move up to the trailer tandems. You'll move up, let the trailer tandems stop on them, and then they're going to give you a green light or tell you go back to the highway, or they're going to tell you come around back, bring in your paperwork. Make sure that all your logbook is updated. Make sure that your permits are good. You're going to bring your driver's license in there. You're going to bring your bills in there. Just bring every paperwork that you have to make sure that you have everything they're going to ask you for. And, that's pretty much how you deal with the scale. You kind of follow the direction that they give you. The way in some states like Texas, California, they have thermal cameras that you drive through and on the way to it. And the thermal cameras are pretty cool. They're checking for hot spots in like the trailers and stuff like that. Anything that shows up on there might be either like maybe people are getting smuggled in a trailer, or, maybe there's drugs inside the trailer. So they're trying to keep eye on that and make sure that we're not doing anything we're not supposed to. Also, the thermal imaging camera can also pick up your brakes. Maybe they're too hot, or your tires get too hot and you're about to have a blowout and you didn't catch it. Think about it. It was fine at the start of the day, but it might have developed an air leak, which is heating it up, and you're going to be looking at a blowout if you don't get it fixed. And then we got this, at some of the scales, I've seen it at one scale for sure, and we have it right at the prime terminal. But when you pull into the terminal, there's a box, and I can see a lot of scales getting this, and I've seen it at one scale. But they have a box that whenever you pull onto it, it will tell you how much air pressure you have in your tires and the tread depth on all your tires. And it's pretty neat. At the terminal, we pull in the front gate, and it's right there in front. So we pull across it, and it tells you all your tire pressures and your tread depths, and it sends you a email or a message, macro, whatever you want to call it. But it's going to send you a message to your Prime app and your Qualcomm, and you're going to know what those are. And I can see that happening at a lot more scales and stuff like that, because it's pretty nifty. It's a quick way to check your tires. So knowledge is power. This is a little video about how the scales work. I hope that this helped you out, or if you had any questions about scales and you're becoming a truck driver, then maybe this gives you a better understanding about the scales. They're not as scary as you think they are. You just follow the directions, follow whatever it says. Whatever the scale says to do, do it. Knowledge is power. Like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate y'all all coming in here and watching this video.
Add me as a referral to your application. Click yes, and then type in COXDJO.
You click the next video right there.